In this video, I'm gonna tell you some of the important CSS techniques that you need to understand before developing any web application. So first technique is creating the top bars like this. You can see this orange bar at the top. So the thing is that if you resize this browser width, you can see the content is still remaining that much size. So if you like increase the width, you can see content is remaining, or content is not flowing outside of that border. So you can see this red border there. So how you can do that? You can see here I have created this div and I have put the announcement bar, this class for this particular div, and the parent of this div is the header. So what I have done is, for this header, the background color that I have given is orange, and I have not given any width to this header element. So what happens is that this header element occupies full width of the viewport. So be it large or desktop, it doesn't matter, it is gonna occupy entire width of that particular page. But you can see the content is restricted to the specific width. So even if you increase this viewport width, content is not gonna expand, it will be restricted to the specific width. So what I have done is I have given the max width to this div element. So I will show you the announcement bar CSS how I have written. If you go at the top, so you can see here max width I have given is 900 pixels. So that means this content is gonna be restricted to 900 pixel maximum. It will not grow beyond that point. So even if there is a larger screen, it will not go beyond 900 pixels. Then there is a border that I have given just to demonstrate that this element is different than the parent element. And then margin auto, this is another important property. So what it does is that you can see it is centralized, this particular element, and that is happening because of this property margin auto. That means margin left and margin right will be adjusted in such a way that the element will be in the center of the page. Then I have given the color as white, padding as 10 pixels, so you can see the space between C and this border. So that is happening because of this padding. And the last property that I've given here is box sizing, border box. So this is also very important. So what is the significance of box sizing, border box properties? That even if you give the padding, so what happens is if you give the padding, the width of that particular element will increase by default. But if you want to prevent that, if you want to restrict it to the 900 pixel dot, then you have to give this box sizing, border box. That means even if you add padding, margin, anything, the max width for that element is going to be 900 pixel. It will not increase at all. And if you look at the header, you can see the background color is this orange one, and the line height I have given 2. So background color is orange, and the same background color the other element is using, that announcement bar as well. So it feels like the entire element is the one element, but it is not the case. What we have done is that header element is there, and that is the parent, and this announcement bar, that element is wrapped inside that that header element. So for the end user, it gives the feel that this entire element is the one element, but it's not. So there are two elements, one is parent, one is child, and for the child, as I said, max width is 900. Okay, the next technique that I'm gonna tell you is that how to divide particular element. For example, this element, so I want to divide it into 3 sections. One is the image, this element, next one is search bar, and the last one is cart and account. So what I want to create is that I want to create 3 div elements, and they should be positioned adjacent to each other, and also the width of each of these elements should be say this should be 10%, and then this should be 20%, and the remaining whatever is left should be given to the search bar element. So how we do that is by using the flex. So what we do is this parent div is we display it as a flex. So there is one property called as display, and what we do is we do display as a flex. So once this parent is flex, all the children are considered as flex children, and then they are aligned according to the flex properties. So by default what happens is div elements are block elements, so if you do not display it as a flex, they will display one after the other. So if I save this, you can see that is the default behavior of the div elements. But since the parent is displayed as flex, it will automatically position those div elements one after the other. And to give the width, specific width to each flex children, what we do is we give this flex CSS property and then give the percentage. So as I said, I wanted this first element to be of 10% width and the last element 20%, so remaining is 70%. So I'm giving the search bar 70%, and that is how it is positioning these elements. So that's how you can organize the div elements, the flex children basically. So this div is a flex, the display property of this element is flex, and these three divs are the children of that particular element, parent element. And you remember that flex colon 10%, that's how you can specify the width of each of the flex children. The last thing that I want to tell you is that relative and absolute properties, position properties. So as you can see, there is one flex item here, and on the top of that flex item I have put this element save 10%, and that element position is absolute. So when you create an element with the position as absolute, by default it will be positioned by taking the reference of the entire HTML page. So if I put absolute position, and by default what will happen is that this element will be positioned somewhere here. So that is the default behavior, but I want that element inside this flex item. So what I do is I give this element position as relative. So let me show you that. So there is a collection, and then in that collection there is a div. So if I go to that collection div CSS, you can see the position is relative. So reason why we do that is, what we want to do is that in that particular element, in that div, I want to position another element with absolute position. So what happens is that that element will be positioned in reference to this element, the parent element. And as you can see, the discount is basically this red element. I am putting a display as block, position is absolute, as you can see, padding 5 pixels, background color red one, and you can see left 0 pixel. That means position this element from the left side of this parent element, this entire box. So I given 0 pixel, that means this element will be positioned here. If I give say 10 pixel, what will happen is that this position will be, this element will be moved a little bit like 10 pixel away from that left border. So you can give like left, top, right, bottom, that kind of positions, and then that element will be position accordingly. So if I put, say, bottom, I want to put this element 0 pixel from the bottom, and as you can see, the element is positioned from the bottom. If I want to put this element from the right side, 0 pixel, that is the offset. So like that, it will be positioned there. So you can give multiple positions as well, like right, left, offsets at the same time, and then that element will be positioned accordingly. Another important property that you need to remember is border radius, that it gives nice curvy borders like corners to the element. So you can see 3 pixel I have given. So if you want to give the border to all the corners, you can put 3 pixel here and 3 pixel here as well. So these three things are very, very important. If you want to do any development, if you are not clear about these three techniques, then the project will get messy. Okay, these are like building blocks of any web application. So you need to understand that. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will definitely try to help you. Thank you for watching this video.